Hold on, this computer. So, this is the introduction to Narada Bhakti Sutra. So let us first revise what we learned in Bhagavad Gita about Bhakti. So in chapter 9, verse 26, Anika ji, you would like to read that shloka?
9.26 Patyam pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tat aham bhakti upahartam asnami prayatatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit or water, I will accept.
Thank you so much, Anika ji. Really appreciate this. So this used to be Mr. Anish's favorite shloka. So Krishna is saying, if you just offer even a leaf, a flower, a fruit, doesn't matter. But if you offer it with love, with devotion, that's what Krishna is saying. So as you can see, Krishna is emphasizing on the bhakti and he is emphasizing on the bhav of devotional service. Krishna is not emphasizing on what you give, what you do. He is emphasizing on how we do it. So that was where Krishna introduced his passion for his devotees. Correct? And in 9.34, what did Krishna say, Anika ji?
Manmanapava matbhakto matyaji mam namaskuru mam evasyasi yuktvavam atmanam matparayana. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, offer obeisance and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you'll come to me.
Excellent. I hope these things sounding familiar to you. We read all of this. Okay, and then let us see what Krishna said in chapter 11, verse 54. Anika ji?
Bhaktyatvanyaya shakya aham evam vidurjuna Nyatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. O Arjun, by unalloyed devotion alone can I be known as I am, standing before you. Thereby, on receiving my divine vision, O scorcher of course, one can enter into union with me.
Excellent. Now see, what we should remember is Shri Krishna showed his divine form or Vishwarupa to Arjuna. He also showed it to Duryodhana. But because Arjuna had a pure heart full of devotion, he could appreciate that form of Krishna. Whereas even though Krishna was right in front of Duryodhana and Krishna was saying, look at my Vishwarupa, Duryodhana could not even recognize him because of his ego and because of his lack of devotion. So that is what Krishna is saying. He's saying only through bhakti can you perceive and realize my presence. It's a very, very key message. I think these kind of messages will become more and more clear as we go through the Bhakti Sutras. So many times people ask, what do I need to do to see God? When will God show himself to me? So God is saying, I'm always in front of you. The question is incorrect. The question is not when will I show myself to you. The question is, when will you choose to see me? And that choice comes only when we let go of our ego, our pride, and when we get into the bhav of bhakti. And as I mentioned earlier, that is going to be my focus for, this is not as long as the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhakti Sutras, we will finish it probably between 10 to 15 sessions, plus or minus 1 or 2. It will be done. It's relatively shorter, but it's intense. And my humble effort is going to be to keep reminding you of the importance of letting go of pride and ego. Because as Krishna himself said, he is in front of us. Always. Okay. We have to get into that bhav to see him. So that is the key. So knowledge and everything will only take us to this understanding that Krishna is everywhere. And we have to get into that bhav to see him. Knowledge will help us reach till this conclusion. After that, it is only through practicing bhakti that we can actually see Krishna. That is the whole message. So let us see then what Krishna says in chapter 12, verse 2. Anika ji?
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Maya Vesha Mano Yemam Nitya Yukta Upashate Shraddhaya Parayopetaha Teme Yukta Tamamata. Those who fix their minds in my personal form and are constantly engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect.
Excellent. And let us also revisit what Krishna said in 14th chapter, 14.26.
Mamchayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuhyaya kalpate. Those who serve me with unalloyed devotion rise above the three modes of material nature and come to the level of the Brahman.
Such beautiful, powerful sayings. And I'm just reminding you everything Krishna said about bhakti, which we may have just intellectually heard and forgotten. So now we are trying to recollect all of those and making a case for why bhakti is so important. So in fact, many wise saints, they have said that bhakti is more valuable than mukti. Because the Brahman, he himself willingly gets bound by pure bhakti. He willingly gets bound by our pure bhakti. So the self-realized yogis, they pray for bhakti, they don't pray for mukti. Actually, as documented in Chaitanya Charitamrita, see, this is how it goes. We first read Bhagavad Gita. Once we are good in Bhagavad Gita, we understand, then we can go through Bhakti Sutras. Once Bhakti Sutras become clear, then we can read things like Chaitanya Charitamrita or, Bhakti Rasamrita. They are all going more and more deeper. And so what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is a avatar of Krishna only. He said, Taro Made Moksha Vancha Kaitam Pradhan means of all the deceptions, Mukti is the greatest. See, such a strong statement he's making. He's saying, of all the deceptions, Mukti is the greatest. Bhukti Mukti Sprayavat Pishachi Hridi Vartate Tavad Bhakti Shukshayatra Katam Abhyudayo Bhavet. He says, if you desire for bhakti, then totally uproot the desire for bhukti. Bhukti is material enjoyment. Or even liberation, which is mukti from your mind. Otherwise, bhakti will not take root. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if you really want to grow in bhakti, stop hankering behind bhukti and mukti. Only when you stop desiring for these, will you have room for bhakti. Okay. See what happens, mukti deprives humans from their prime goal of attaining divine love for eternity. So in other words, mukti is self-serving. It is like, I want liberation. I want freedom from pain. I want freedom from a material world. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. I want to get free from all of that. So it is focused on I, me. Okay. Whereas bhakti is focused on God. Bhakti says, let me serve God. Let me love God. Let me be in God's service. So, although mukti is not a material goal, mukti is beyond that. Mukti is saying, I want to get free from material world, but still it can become an obstacle on the path of divine love. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, mukti is the greatest deception. Means Maya is played as trump card. It is the ace of all aces. Because Maya has told you that how hard I can make your life. As long as you are in material world, I'm going to trouble you. So Maya is making you run behind mukti. But then that is the final deception, because you are so busy running behind mukti that you forget about bhakti. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to explain to us very beautifully. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also said is, the purest form of bhakti is you don't seek even mukti. And that is where you are able to establish that divine loving bond and relationship with the Supreme God. Now we understand. See, again, as Krishna said, if you're not strong, you cannot sacrifice strength. If you're not wealthy, you cannot sacrifice wealth. If you don't have anything, you cannot sacrifice anything. Just like that, first you needed to have the knowledge of how to gain mukti. There is no point saying, oh, I give up my desire for mukti. You are anyways not eligible for mukti. As if you are going to get mukti tomorrow and you are saying, I'm giving up mukti. Right? That is why we spent all this time understanding Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna himself beautifully explained how to get liberation. He has given us so many methods and so many formula for how to get liberation. You should know all of that. You should practice the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and then say that I am going to give up my desire for mukti. That is why we said first study Bhagavad Gita and then it will be more meaningful to enter into the Bhakti Sutra studies. So Narada Muni is also known as Sage Narada or Narada Muni. He is the Manas Putra of Lord Brahma. Manas Putra basically means he was created by Lord Brahma using his mind. So he was brought into being using Brahma's mind alone. And the purpose of Naradaji's birth, why did Brahma create Naradji using his mind? The purpose was to give the universe an enlightened teacher. Because the universe needed a teacher, somebody who could teach bhakti. That was the purpose of Lord Brahma bringing Narada Muni into existence. Okay. And Narada Muni is also known as the king of all sages. He is also known as Rishi Raj. Okay. Now, Lord Brahma himself taught the topic of bhakti to Narada Muni. And then he told Narada Muni to spread this knowledge to all of humanity. Now, Narada Muni resolved that he will endeavor to establish bhakti in everybody's hearts. Narada Muni himself became one of the foremost devotees of Lord Vishnu. And he became the perfect bhakti yogi. The very word Narada means one who gives knowledge, or the supreme, one who gives knowledge of the supreme Brahman. That is the meaning of the word Narada. Now, the interesting thing to understand is Narada Muni's knowledge was not just theoretical. Because as part of God's divine leelas, Narada Muni himself made many mistakes. Like he gave in to his desires, etc., etc. Like he could not control his mind. Of course, if he wanted, he could have, but he had to do all that as part of God's leelas. And based on those leelas, he was made to take birth in the womb of a maid servant. Narada Muni was actually born on earth as a son of a humble maid servant. Okay. This story is documented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also written by Vedavyas ji. So you can read it if you are interested. But then what happened is he fell down. It is basically falling down on earth, falling down to a lower plane, because he, the Rishi Raj, the king of all sages, comes and gets born as the son of a maid servant. Then what he does, he gets into association of pure devotees. He performs many different penances and he practices bhakti yoga. He practices bhakti yoga. And he gets elevated again to his position. In other words, he is also practicing and setting an example to all of humanity that no matter where you are, you can be born, you can be a servant's son, you can be a Shudra, you can be anything. But if you practice bhakti yoga, you can get elevated. So he has showed it through example. That is why he's the most qualified person to teach bhakti, because it's not just theoretical, but it is practical as well. He has practiced it and he has shown us how through practice of bhakti yoga, you can elevate yourself. Okay. Now, before explaining about bhakti, Narada Muni wrote Narada Smriti, which is about the Karma Kanda. We discussed this in Bhagavad Gita a long time ago, where if you remember, Shri Krishna spoke about, was telling Arjuna, don't get engrossed in these rituals, otherwise it is like a moha kalilam. So there Krishna was telling, don't, the scriptures are not something you should be so, deeply following. He was talking about the Karma Kanda section, because the Karma Kanda deals mostly about ritualistic aspects. So Narada Muni wrote the Narada Smriti, which is all about the science of rituals. But he was not satisfied. Then he went and wrote Narada Pancharatra, in which he taught how to mix bhakti and these rituals, so that these rituals become more meaningful. And I don't know if you remember the term Mishra Bhakti. How many of you remember? Raise your hands if you remember Mishra Bhakti. 1, 2. Okay, okay. Okay, Umaji also remembers. Umaji, can you tell us what is Mishra Bhakti? Whatever you remember, there is no wrong answer.
Sorry, I don't remember.
No problem. Mishra is very simple. Mishra means mix. So Mishra Bhakti is mixed. When you mix Bhakti with anything, you can mix Bhakti with Jnana Yoga, you can mix Bhakti with Raja Yoga, you can mix Bhakti. So when you mix Bhakti with Karma Yoga, it becomes Nishkama Karma Yoga. Like that, Shri Krishna has given us, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has told us how you can mix Bhakti with all types of yoga also. So that is Mishra Bhakti. Yeah, and that is what Naradji wrote in Narada Pancharatra. Now, Narada Muni was still not satisfied. Narada Muni said, okay, I wrote about rituals. I was not satisfied. Then I wrote about how to mix rituals and bhakti. I'm still not satisfied. So Narada Muni says, okay, then now I should go and write just about bhakti, pure bhakti. That is where he wrote Narada Bhakti Sutra. Okay. And this whole Narada Bhakti Sutra starts with the sentence, now I will describe about bhakti. Okay, so I will go deeper into this once we start the Bhakti Sutra next session. But you just keep this in mind. Remember that Narada Muni will start his whole Bhakti Sutra by saying, now I will describe about bhakti. So Lord Krishna taught about bhakti in Bhagavad Gita. And Narada ji is going to help us get a deeper understanding of this topic. Now, Narada ji again says, see, just like Krishna says, I'm in front of you. If you have to know me, all you have to do is get rid of your pride, ego, and get into Bhakti Bhav. You can see me. Just like that, Narada Muni said, I am teaching you Bhakti Sutra. The knowledge is here. But you have to get in the mode of service. You have to get into the mode of, egoless, prideless mindset. Only then it's going to make sense. This knowledge will make sense and you will make the most of it. That is what I was trying to explain in the previous. Definitely, I'm not even the dust of Narada Muni's feet. So forgive me for being ineffective, but I will keep reiterating this. Okay. So, in short, bhakti is a kind of divine love where there cannot be no ego, jealousy, or desire for anything other than divine love. There cannot even be fear. Because there should be nothing else. You should have room for nothing else. There should be only love and only bhakti. That is why we discussed earlier. We have to get into the mode of God loving. The stage of being God fearing is gone. That is enough. We have already overcome that stage. As students of Bhagavad Gita, you have finished Bhagavad Gita. So now you have progressed. Now you don't have to be God fearing anymore. Now we have to get into God loving. And in God loving, the only emotion that should be in your heart is bhakti, bhakti, and bhakti. No pride, no ego, no selfish desires, no fear, only bhakti. Because when you let go of all these things, then you are full of bhakti and you need to be full of bhakti. And there cannot be any unhappiness arising out of such divine love. Okay. Basically, what Naradji is saying is, we know many types of love. See, there is a very famous speech by Osho. We will get into it later, but there are many types of love. For example, if I randomly pick somebody, let us say Chitra ji, and I say, Chitra, I love you. Immediately Chitra will become alert. What kind of love? What love? Is it pure love? Is it impure love? Is it brotherly love, sisterly love, fatherly love? There will be a million categorizations of love, right? But if I say, Chitra ji, I hate you. No, she's not going to say what kind of hate. Pure hate, impure hate, brotherly hate, motherly hate. There's nothing like that. So Osho asked a very philosophical question. Does it mean that hate is a more pure emotion than love? Because love seems to have so many shades, but hate doesn't have any shade. Hate is hate. So Naradji goes one step ahead. And Naradji says that is because that love is imperfect love. When you have love for God, when you get into divine love, then it is perfect. There are no shades there. Okay? And then there are no shades. When it is divine perfect love, there cannot be any unhappiness, because it is the difference between Shreya and Preya. All other types of love, they are Preya. They may seem to give you pleasure. Look at all these film stars. Like sitting here, we will say that, oh man, that person has a dream life. See, somebody married Madhubala. What a life. Yeah, but then they are not able to stay happy, because it is all prayer, because no love can be Shreya, which is not divine or selfless or egoless or prideless. And it is very, very hard to have such a love for a human or a material thing. Because if you want to have perfect love, the object of that love should also be perfect. And that is what Naradji is saying. Naradji is saying, once you understand that the object of your love is something as perfect as God, then your love will also become perfect. And once your love is perfect, there cannot be any negative consequences. There cannot be any unhappiness that arises out of it. It will be Anand. All the time it is just Anand. Okay. Now there is also a story, a very interesting story. I will keep it very short. I will share the notes so you can read the whole story. So there was a great saint. His name was Vidyapati. He lived somewhere around 14th century. I don't know if Suchita ji knows about Vidyapati, because he was also the creator of many languages. He created languages like Maithili, Bhojpuri, Oriya, even Bengali was created by Sage Vidyapati. And he was also known as the Kavi Kokil, meaning the cuckoo poet saint of Mithila. So Vidyapati was from Mithila, basically. And he was a very, very great devotee of Lord Shiva. He was a pure devotee. And based on his, I'll keep it very short. So based on his devotion, Shiva wanted to serve him. Just look at it. I mean, it's beyond our comprehension. The Lord of all lords, Shiva, the Lord of the universe, who is supposed to be the most powerful Lord, he is undefeated. He wants to serve Vidyapati. Because Vidyapati was such a pure, ardent devotee, he kind of actually managed to bind Shiva with his bhakti. And Shiva just says, I want to serve this devotee of mine. And Shiva takes birth as a human being. Not birth, he just manifests as a human being, as a name Ugna, and he becomes the servant of Vidyapati. He will follow Vidyapati everywhere. And Vidyapati will give him all sorts of works, and because he was such an effective servant, Vidyapati is so happy, and he's like, wow, I found such a great servant. So he will depend on him for everything. Bring me water, bring me food, go to the market, do this, do that. And Ugna would very sincerely do all of that. And one day they were somewhere in a area which was very arid and dry, and it was very sunny, and there was no water anywhere, and Vidyapati was totally like going crazy, and he just had to have water, and he was about to faint, and Ugna couldn't see that, because it is Lord Shiva, and he couldn't tolerate his devotee going through such a pain. And Vidyapati also says, Ugna, you are always such a nice servant. Can you find water for me? And who are we talking about? We are talking about Shiva. I mean, Mother Ganges sits in his head. And so Shiva just takes a little bit of water from there and feeds Vidyapati. So Vidyapati's thirst is quenched, but it is Vidyapati. It's not an ordinary person. It's a saint Vidyapati. So he immediately realizes that the water he drank is tasting just like Gangajal. And he's very curious. So he's asking Ugna, tell me, where did you get this water from? And now it is Lord Shiva. He cannot lie. So he, for a second, shows his true form. And Vidyapati is so touched and speechless. He's like, I have been treating you like a servant. What have I been doing? And Shiva says, don't worry, it was my own wish. See, the tatparya of the story is, God is telling a human being that it was my wish to come and serve you based on your devotion for me. So don't feel bad. So Vidyapati says, that's all okay, but I don't now want you to go. Okay, so sorry about this. So still I used to check na Amazon. Sorry for the interruption. So This is Amazon. I mean, they are so passionate about their job. It's almost 8 p.m., but they are still, they will make sure they call, they have to deliver the package. They won't take it back. So anyways, so this is the story. So in short, Shiva tells Vidyapati that I will come behind you. I will be with you on one condition: you don't reveal my true nature to anybody, because that is only for you. It's a secret between you and me. And all this happens, and then he comes back. But Vidyapati's wife, of course, she doesn't know about any of this, so she keeps treating Ugna as a servant, and sometimes she will ill-treat him and all of that. And so Vidyapati one day gets very angry, and he says, do you even know who this person is? I mean, you are ill-treating Lord Shiva. And Shiva says, oh, you broke your promise, now I'm going. And Shiva goes. And then Vidyapati goes mad. I mean, he's like, oh, I just lost Shiva. He goes searching for Shiva everywhere. And the story is, again, he's in such a mode of bhakti bhav that Shiva's my heart melts. And Shiva again appears once more in front of him as Ugna. That place is known as Ugnastan. It is somewhere in Bihar area, in today's Bihar area. It is all actual story. It's in Puranas. I won't say Puranas. Puranas are very old, but it's in some of our scriptures. The story is there. Okay. Now the thing is, the master of the universe will willingly become the devotee's servant. That is the bhav of service. And what we do, we are such big people. We have such big egos. We cannot have that bhav even with the person in front of us. Okay, so how can we expect to be so advanced in bhakti that God himself will have that bhav for us? See, we have a long way to go. That is the tatparya of this story. That should be our goalpost. Can we become like a Vidyapati? Okay. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, I will give you the verse number. I will try not to recite the slokas and all. So Krishna has said that I'm completely under the control of my devotees. This is Krishna saying. I'm not at all independent, Krishna says, because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires. And I am sitting within the course of their hearts. Krishna says, what to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee, they are very dear to me. So that is a confession Krishna is making. Krishna is making, you may think I am a totally independent person, but I am not. I am actually bound by my devotees, pure devotees. That is the power of pure bhakti. Now, probably it's beginning to make sense why bhakti is so much more important than mukti. Because mukti is for you, whereas bhakti is where we are actually fulfilling the divine purpose of our life. That is to be in the mode of eternal service to the divine and develop that supreme loving bond with the divine. Okay. So we got an idea of what bhakti is. Now I will quickly tell you what sutra means. So the term sutra basically means a string. Sutra means many different things, but in this context, a sutra means a string. So all our ancient philosophical textbooks, they are all written in the form of sutras. So basically, it is a string in which many thoughts and ideas, they are strung together and presented like a garland, like a mala. That is the idea. So we discussed about the 6 schools of philosophy. You may have to go look in your notes to remember that. They are called darshanas. And all 6 schools of philosophy, their texts, they are all given in the form of sutras. And we also have the Brahma Sutras, which explain the Advaita philosophy. And then we have Jaimani Sutras, which explain the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, and so on and so forth. In modern world, people only know about Kama Sutra. They have no idea that there are so many other sutras. Okay. So Narada Muni has created this Bhakti Sutra using 84 slokas. And one thing we should keep in mind is Narada Muni is known to work everywhere as a friend, philosopher, and guide to all pure devotees. So whenever anybody makes a sincere attempt to advance on the path to bhakti, in the path of bhakti, Narada Muni, even if you don't call out to Narada Muni, this is his specialty. No other devatas are like that. Like if you want the grace of Ganesha, you have to call out to Ganesha. If you want the grace of Lakshmi ji, you have to call out to Lakshmi ji. But Narada Muni is an exception. He is the king of all sages, but still, you don't have to explicitly say, Narad ji, help me. Narad ji says, it is my duty and my job. The moment I see anybody making a true, sincere effort to progress on the path of bhakti, I will be present to help them. So keep that in mind. Try to sense, try to feel. Sometimes on your path of bhakti yoga, you may find some hindrances, you may find some troubles, and sometimes magically it will look like some divine force is helping you overcome those troubles. So of course, Krishna is there to help, but Narada Muni is his representative. So Narada Muni is there, he's present. So at least once in a while, show your respect and keep him in your hearts and bow down to Narada Muni and with reverence and say that thank you for teaching bhakti to humanity. And I know that you are present here, so please continue to help me. Okay, there are two entities that you have to always keep very close to your heart, very dear to you, in order to succeed in bhakti yoga and reach Krishna. The number one is Radharani. Okay, it is through Radharani that you are going to reach Krishna. And even our sessions and everything were successful because of Radharani. So always keep her in your mind, bow down to her, worship her. And the second entity is Narada Muni, because to make progress in bhakti, you need Narada Muni's help, and Narada Muni is helping you selflessly. So keep Narada Muni also in mind. With these two entities by your side, there is no stopping you. Do you know what can stop you in spite of Radharani and Narad ji helping you? What can stop you? Any ideas?
Ego.
Exactly.
Laziness.
Your ego, your pride. Nothing else can stop you. Maya cannot even stop you, because Maya is in the control of... Maya cannot fight with Radharani. It's impossible. And definitely Maya is a servant of Krishna. So it is your own ego, our own pride. This is the only thing that can stop us, in spite of having the help and support of Radharani and Narad ji themselves. So keep that in mind always. So Saint Ramakrishna is a very great saint. He has said that the best path to union with God is to follow the way of divine love as taught by Narada. So that is an endorsement for us. Ramakrishna was such a great saint. I hope this all makes sense. So with this knowledge and context, now from the next session, we will start diving deep into Narada Muni's Bhakti Sutra. So we will go through Sutras 1 to Sutra 6. That will be the syllabus for the next session. So with that, I would like to open the floor. Let me stop recording.